Ready?
Good evening. This is the Rutland Town Planning Commission. It's February 13th of 2025. Let's begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First item, approval of the agenda. We do not have the boundary line adjustment on Cedar Avenue. That was withdrawn.
Oh. Okay.
So we can take that off the list for tonight. And then the 11 boundary line adjustment, we'll do the hearing at our next meeting on the 6th of March. So with that adjustment to the agenda, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, passed. Doesn't look like there's any public here or online. So down to new business, and quite a few months ago, we talked with one of the other planners at the Regional Planning Commission about housing and maybe doing a housing needs assessment, just say, what is the situation in Rutland? So we also talked about getting that assessment done. And Norm is joining us now. Hi, Norm.
Good evening. Good evening.
Okay. And one of the ways to get an assessment like that done is getting a municipal planning grant. Those are now open, and the deadline is in March to get that application together. However, Logan Solomon, the planner, says that we may not need to do that to get the same data, because the Regional Planning Commission has to do that, has to collect that information anyway, by statute. This is what Logan says. The 2026 Rutland Regional Plan is required to estimate the total needed housing investments in terms of price, quality, unit size or type, and location, and disaggregate regional housing targets or ranges by municipality. What this means is Rutland Town will have a housing target or goal with indicators like a net total number of housing units added to the town's housing supply, among other indicators. In preparing targets, we are required to consult the statewide housing needs assessment, which provides, that's too much detail. They need to consult that statewide assessment. Essentially, if you're looking to assess needs for housing in Rutland Town with the municipal planning grant, much of the work will be occurring at the Regional Planning Commission already, as it's required by law that we do that. If you're not looking to use the grant to assess housing needs, then it may make sense to apply, and I might be misremembering the exact idea of the project, but I think it was to assess what's out there and match that to what the needs are. So the question is, do we want to go for this municipal planning grant or wait and see what the Regional Planning Commission comes up with?
It's a regional problem,
Mm-hmm.
not just a Rutland Town problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it would seem like the Regional Commission would be the logical way to study it.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning that way too. Norm?
From what I remember about this, basically, as I understand it, Rutland Town is built out almost completely. Um, so what is an assessment going to do for us? A housing assessment?
Mm, well, what do you mean by built out?
Well, didn't we look at something like this before, perhaps with uh, respect to looking at a village center and that kind of discussion, and the term Rutland town housing was built out and there wasn't a lot of room left. I thought that came up in the context of that discussion. So I'm a little confused. If
Anyone
I'm wrong,
remember it?
just,
Well, we talked about the town center and getting the advantage that the town center would get us. But I don't think as far as this being built out, but this would be to assess what we actually have in stock,
Right,
correct? Is my reading that?
right,
Or what could be added.
right.
Yeah, and
Oh.
what's available, so you'd have to look at, I would assume you'd assess all the houses that we have plus what are available for what acreage or whatever is available for building in it. I mean, how do you really assess that?
Yeah,
So let's just.
well, I
region.
I assume it doesn't, there's no downside to having a regional planning commission do it. As opposed just for, for the town doing it.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, unless Bill is like clamoring for another grant to.
At the moment.
So we'll pass on this for now and see what the Regional Planning Commission comes up with.
No,
Okay. Bill, we're down to old business. Anything new on the subdivision ordinance that?
We met
Wow.
and went through a bunch more. There's still a lot more to go through, but we did get through more sections, clarified some, spent a lot of time talking about certain things, but we need to kind of what we're at kind of the big section is developing the process. So like defining the process, like from application to approval, we need to write it out. So there is some things we're gonna need some input from the group on. And we'll probably do that the next meeting and touch on that
Mm-hmm.
then. But we're still moving forward. We did look at Mount Holly's, but theirs is not really of much value. It's not gonna really, there's no aha things there, things we can beg, borrow, or steal to make ours better. So we're still moving forward, but it's just a lot it's just very time consuming to go through it. So
Is the
Indeed.
subgroup still meeting?
oh yeah,
Norm,
Is the subgroup what?
still meeting?
Yes,
we met last
Oh.
week and we were meeting again in a couple weeks.
yeah, and we may not get through it. It's really tedious and very detailed work. Dana's done a terrific job, as has Bill. And it's heavy lifting. The other thing I might mention about Mount Holly is its ordinance is almost 30 years old and probably is nearly as outdated as ours. And so
Mm, mm. So-
1998,
yeah. The questions you will have for the planning commission about process?
There's some things that we need to we're gonna work on some of the things that are easier, but there are parts of it that we're gonna need the group's input on to go through. I don't know what they're exactly right this minute,
Yeah.
but there's a few different things, and talk about process is one of them, about how do we want that to go, and what our limitations are, and
Okay, so we'll have a little work session, most likely next time after.
it could be. That will be the meeting right after the election. So maybe the end of March, but we'll see. Maybe both.
Oh, okay, so you're not looking at the 6th?
It might depend what's on the agenda. If hearing is the only thing we really have to go over, then we're not gonna touch on that. Spend some time on that too, so. Maybe that's Dana to tell us more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect timing.
Please again.
We were just wrapping up the subdivision ordinance update.
Oh. Well, then Norman took care of it, right?
No,
You
Bill
know.
did.
There you go.
Yeah. So we're probably looking at maybe the meeting on the 27th of March to,
Talk with the group about the things we need them to weigh in on.
As substantive as they are.
Yeah.
And everybody's aware of that, right?
Some things are more than others, but you know, it's gonna kind of come down to how are we gonna do this? So are we gonna try and turn this back to Kevin? And because, you know, I think we'll probably try, if either the 6th or the 27th, we'll try and maybe give a really detailed synopsis and be like, this is where we're at, and it's either gonna be probably months more of this, or turn it back to Kevin and see what he can do, but.
yeah.
Right.
Is that how you're leaning?
Well,
Go,
yeah, because we spent an entire hour plus, hour and 15 on one section, yeah. 4.1, which was the last one we thought we'd be through that relatively quickly and be able to move on to 2. But we weren't, and now we're not even sure that we'll be able to we'll get through 2 the next time. And so what we're learning is that it's much more of a slog, and we don't really have a lot of answers. We have more questions than we do answers, based on what Kevin has given us for feedback. I mean, as Norman would say, he did a very thorough job, but it's just tough. And we have a number of questions on the 4.1 that we came up with last time. So we'll continue to go through it, but tonight's update was to just make the planning commission aware of the task ahead of us as a collective. The subcommittee can't make recommendations on certain things. We just need to open it up to a full discussion about how we want to proceed, and, you know, decide whether it's best for Kevin to just answer some of those questions and draft some language for us to look at and consider, or whether we want to spend a considerable amount of time doing that as a planning commission. But yeah, it was a somewhat eye-opening reality when we went through things last time.
okay.
Yeah, we, perhaps we can talk about that at our next subcommittee meeting and make a recommendation to the planning commission as to what we think the best way to proceed is, whether just do it at the commission level or let Kevin take another crack at it, and then we can go from there, which might be, more time efficient, but we'll see. We'll talk about it. I
Okay.
hope.
Did either of you mention the implications for cross-referencing the town plan?
No.
So, I mean, one of the things that Kevin mentioned in 4.01 is that if there are things that are referenced in the town plan, we need to make sure that those are captured in the ordinance. If they are not in the town plan, then they need to be in the town plan, and we need to cross-reference them in the ordinance. So either way, we have a conundrum, because when we checked, I would say at least 40% of the items that he identified, correct me, gentlemen, if I'm wrong, at least 40% of the items that he identified were not in the plan as we
What
reviewed
sorts
it.
of things?
Okay, that I don't have in my notes, but let me see if I can pull something
Well,
up really quickly.
because our town plan's not due until 2028,
Right.
8 years.
So what was listed, layout of streets, sidewalks, curbs, gutters, streetlights, fire hydrants, landscaping, water, sewage, stormwater management facilities,
public and private utilities and other necessary improvements. Those are the things that should be listed in the town plan. Not all of them are. And I can't remember, I didn't write down, but I made a note that said some of these are not there.
Hmm.
So, streets and sidewalks are probably not in the plan, but they're in the ordinance. Yep. So I don't know, that's a question for him. I know that streetlights didn't appear anywhere. I'm not sure about fire hydrants. I can't remember that. I don't think, gutters are there. The stormwater management plan is not in the, town plan, I don't think, but it is in the ordinance. And public or private utilities are not mentioned at all, so. Those are just a couple of, I mean, that's off the top of my head. I didn't write down the comprehensive list.
Okay.
A lot of comments. Lots.
I didn't realize there needed to be that much cross-referencing between.
Well, it's in this section and let me, I can read it. As a general observation, 4.001 is chock full of lots of shoulds. Permissive language is not particularly helpful. We've taken care of that. That said, the statutory authority provides some helpful guidance for some of what 4.01 tries to accomplish. Section 4418(1)B states that subdivision bylaws shall contain, and it made that whole lengthy list that I was going over. 24 VSA 4418(1)B, that's the reference. The issue then becomes whether or not the municipal plan includes such specific standards. If the town plan does contain specific standards regarding these considerations, then the PC should draft a provision for their inclusion in 4.01. Section 4418(1)B also requires the subdivision bylaws to include standards in accordance with subdivision 4412-3 for lots without frontage on or access to public roads or public waters. 24 VSA blah blah blah. Section 4412(3) concerns access to public highways and imposes the following. And he went down the list. Any permit, well, I'm just going to highlight one of these things. Any permit, any permanent easement or right of way providing access to such roads or waters shall be at least 20 feet in width. This needs to be stated in the plat requirements that we noted because it wasn't there.
So if you go back a few
Few lines.
lines, didn't it say something about the town plan should be considered? It doesn't say it needs to be there. Did I hear you right?
Let me read. Let me see.
These
Becomes
things-
whether or not the municipal plan includes such specific, if the town plan does contain specific standards regarding these, then the PC should draft a provision for their
But
inclusion.
if it doesn't, does it mean we don't need it?
Well, that's what the three of us were debating.
Right?
And if it doesn't, we were assuming that Kevin meant that it
Needs to.
should be. and it
Okay,
needs to.
gotcha.
Yeah, it wasn't spoken. Bill is going to ask Kevin about that. But that was the fear that we had, that if it, it should be included here
Right.
by reference.
Gotcha.
If it's not there, because, and we went back to this one, it's the statutory authority that identifies those. And so by statutory authority, we're supposed to have that.
Right.
If it's not in the town plan, we went and logically reasoned it backwards, that these things need to be there statutorily. If they are not there, they should be included. Now, he's not telling us they shall be included. He says we need to decide, which is, I think, a lawyer's way, correct me if I'm wrong, Norman, of telling us we need to do it, even though he's not telling us we need to do it.
I can't speak for Kevin.
But you interpreted his intent at the meeting with the three of us, so. Anyway.
I'm sorry,
That's,
would you say?
that's what we're- I was just returning the favor from last week's throwing me under the bus, or last time, not last week, but last meeting. Anyway. I threw you under the Kevin bus. Anyway.
I can't believe how complicated this is.
Oh, it's,
Yeah,
it's really It's really a very long process. Uh, and just how we present it to the planning commission is something we have to talk about because there's three different documents that we're working from. The existing subdivision regulations, Kevin's letter, Bill's draft that includes Kevin's letter, Kevin's suggestions, but does not also include, for clarity purposes, what is being removed. So somehow we've got to come up with a way to present it to the full commission that doesn't get bogged down in that kind of thing. So it is a much bigger task, I think, than any of us assumed.
But
And
what we're trying to do, Norman, and that's why it took us as long as it did last time, I think, is to distill it down to what the real questions are and what we can bring back to the planning commission for a decision. Or whether we just we think that there are so many tentacles to this that it would be best for Kevin to make a recommendation about it. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
That's where I'm leaning.
So, but we can do that at either the 6th or the 27th. It's fine with me. We just know that we're not going to have this done anytime soon. We're not going to have a document that we can present back to the select board anytime soon. And that the first stage is going to be for this commission to have to make some decisions about how we want to structure it. And what the three of us are trying to do is identify those areas that need attention. And then when that list is compiled, you could say, holy mackerel, this is extensive. Why don't we send it back to Kevin and he can take another year to work on it for us? Because as Norman pointed out, now we understand why Kevin took as long as he did to get back to us.
Okay, once again, thank you very much for the time you're putting into this.
So we meet again on, I think it's February 27th. Is that right, guys? I might have written it down in here. No, it's in my calendar. I guess I forgot to put it here. Next steps. Update you guys on the 13th, set another meeting. We did that. We have to still finish 4.01 and then begin section 2.
we have a meeting
I think
at
it's
4 p.m. We have a meeting at 4 p.m. on the 27th.
Yep, that's it. Okay. So we did do that. I just didn't write it in my notes at the end, so I'll put that on.
Okay,
But sorry that we can't be more helpful.
we're sorry that I put this on you.
And we, you better be nice because we could resign and then where would you be?
Norman, if memory serves me correctly, you threatened that in the meeting.
I think it was tongue in cheek, Mr. Chair.
Okay, yeah, somehow I got pointed that. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
On to the next piece under old business, the River Corridor Ordinance Review. I think I promised the last time that I would take a crack at putting together an ordinance. It didn't happen, but I'll do it for the next meeting. In the meantime, there was something at the select board meeting, which I wasn't able to attend on Tuesday. They were adopting a new local hazard mitigation plan, which is one of the things that gets you more from the state when there's a disaster. It's one of the check boxes, in addition to river corridors and other things. But in adopting that plan, they needed to have some language in there about a river corridor ordinance or bylaw. So they came up with some language that
it was one of the bullet points about things that are being done. And it talked about that they're in development, that the planning commission is working on with like a target of like 2026 or 2027 for adoption. And a board member kind of got hung up on that, and I think she may have thought that that plan put those into effect. Not sure,
On in that time period.
like as part of this vote they took the other night. I don't think that was clear that the vote wasn't voting to put them into effect.
Right.
It was adopting the plan, which included that we were working on those, that the board had already given you the directive to do. So I don't know where the confusion came in, but there was some, but
Okay. So we need to continue working on it. We're under some obligation to do that now. So I will get something for everyone to look at next time. Anyone have any questions or opinions about where we are with the river corridor ordinance? We are under some obligation now to keep the process going after the select board. And is that okay with everyone?
Do we have a
I'll come
choice?
up with- Sure we do. Well, less so after Tuesday night.
Yeah, that's my impression. They've decided what they want to do and what they want from us.
Well, what they basically wanted to do was pass that plan, the local hazard mitigation plan.
approved pending adoption. That's the specific. Stephanie was very, very clear. We've approved it pending adoption.
Oh, FEMA adoption.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
There's
but,
gonna be no FEMA, so we won't have to do anything, right?
but what we have
Well,
done now qualifies us again for that money, emergency relief fund,
Mhm,
if
ERAF.
it's necessary. Up until Monday, we didn't actually qualify for it.
Really?
Now, because our plan expired, but now that we've approved the plan pending adoption, we sent it to them. Now we say we qualify for it
Mhm.
because we got the draft in. So
Yeah. So if you remember those pie charts, the state picks up, the feds pick up 3/4% of the disaster relief. State picks up a quarter, 25%. So having this plan gives us 12.5%.
it's like
Having a river corridor would bump us up to 17.5%.
we end up being responsible for like 7% of
Right.
that,
Yeah,
which
right. Okay.
So what are our next steps then, Barbara, on the river corridor?
If I remember correctly, we'd kind of made it through the template.
Yep.
And got to the point where, well, let's see how, let's put this in a form that looks like it came from Rutland Town. And then just dissect it afterwards.
Right, okay.
And there were some comments made along the line, and I'll try to take or change those parts of the plan. Okay. Speaking of the federal government, the Pocket Park grant application went in. The monies, it's federal money. It's coming from the Federal Highway Commission, through Vermont, Parks and Rec Department. The Vermont Parks and Rec has decided to just keep going through the process of reviewing the applications and scoring them and all that kind of stuff, and see how things are at that point with funding. But there is some question about the funding. We won't hear till at least March sometime how that process is going. And so I had Bill send out to you just to let you know how I put the application together, both the work plan and the budget for it. I don't know if you've got copies in front of you. But the the work plan would go like this. There first would have to be an archaeological determination, which is a good thing. Because even when GMP did their relicensing, VDHP, the Historic Preservation Office in the state had some concerns, but of course the Fed said could trump them on anything, and they just, there was enough information there for the relicensing to go ahead, and there wasn't much of an archaeological impact, but the state thinks there might be more there. So that would be good. Then we got administering the grant, marketing and promotion. Cedar put in $3,000 to do things on his social media and aggressive regional marketing initiative. So that's going to be a coordinated and sustained marketing promotional campaign that will begin when construction is complete and continues indefinitely afterwards. Next comes preparing the site and using mostly town highway crews there. And that would be removing dead trees, expanding the parking lot, and removing unused pipes and other industrial remnants. And there's a few of them in there. After that would come removing the invasives, a plan for removing the invasives. And that would be with a professional contractor to identify the species and remove them. And also they would come up with a plan with what should be replanted there and hand that over to the town. That's the actual replanting is not covered by this grant.
The replanting would not be, okay,
Right.
just the removal.
Yeah. And then creating the new trail, is one way in and out. And fixing up the trail into the overlook and fixing up the picnic area and fixing up a little bit of the trail down to the fishing access. Then they'd be installing a heavy-duty steel fence. And then after that, this is where the Planning Commission comes in with the historical signs and the kiosk. We'll be meeting with historical and other stakeholders to create the content. And there's money to contract with the designer to make the signs and put in enough money there so that the signs could be the laminated ones. We've talked about that a little bit. They have, they're supposedly vandal proof. And they have at least a 10-year life on them. And they're the ones that are, you know, like rectangular plates, and they can have pictures and text and different things on them, color. And people can, kids and people in wheelchairs can go up to them and be able to read them too. And then we're moving the DAR watering trough and putting a new entrance sign in
Entrance to the park,
at the parking lot at that south
but an
end.
entrance, yeah,
Yeah.
along with, near where the DAR trough will be located.
Yeah. And so the maximum for those grants was 50,000. We came up because we wanted to go with a really good high steel, strong steel fencing and such. The total, we came up to $48,200. So
48.2.
48,206.
Oh, okay.
And we've got a lot of match because of the town crews doing a lot of the heavy lifting there. And that added up to 23% of the total project costs, and the minimum was 20%. So if everything goes well and the money is still there and we get part of the grant. The money will be available in July. And so the archaeological stuff will start then. And then, like preparing the site would be November of 2025.
Excuse me, Barbara, can I just ask a clarifying question? When you're talking about the percentages of the match, and you said the required minimum was about 20%. I'm just doing round math in my head. So is the match that we're putting in terms of the highway crews, is that approximately between 11 and 12,000?
It's over 14,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's 14,000.
Because we can add the Cedar 3,000. We're putting in, the
That includes the,
town
Cedar.
administrators' time there. And even, the planning commission time.
Okay.
For the meeting with the stakeholders and such.
So, yeah, okay, so it was about 11,000, just shy of 11,000 on the road crews.
Mhm.
Okay, that's in the budget, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks. I didn't have a chance to go through the budget in detail.
so, if we get it, and we can, it'll be a probably pretty fast turnaround, to start things going. So
So-
that's why I just want to lay it out for everyone.
14,006.
What we promised. Any questions?
Did you do this by yourself or with Bill?
I did it at the Regional Planning Commission, yeah.
No, it's a lot of
With
work. and
Bill's
thanks.
help and, what's that?
I said, it's a lot of work. Thank you.
Yeah, Bill helped with the rates, the town rates and such.
Barbara, I get that percentage, the total match, I get that at 30%. Or not, so
It's
that's,
automatically calculated. It's, what they do is they
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 add
take-
those two together.
yeah,
I see.
they
Okay.
take what
I-
you're asking for and that you add the
got it. I see it
match.
now, yep,
So that comes out to 62.6.
okay.
Yeah,
I was thinking that our 14 was part of the 48. It's not. It's an addition.
Right.
Got it.
right.
Okay. So it has to be 20% of the total project cost, not 20% of the ask. Okay.
Right. Yeah, so I'll be on the lookout. We'll be on the lookout, the Regional Planning Commission, for other grants. If we don't get this one, everything's kind of up in the air and in limbo. But so far the state is, the mantra there is just go ahead, move forward and hope for the best, I guess.
So you can do.
Yeah, okay. Any announcements?
At the meeting the other night, the board passed, a code of ethics investigation enforcement policy, which we were basically required to pass by the state. And there is ethics training, which needs to be done by, let's just say, everybody in, almost every municipal official. So, cemetery commissioners, clerks, delinquent tax collectors, department heads, constables, listers, moderators, planning commission members, road commissioner, treasurers, trustees, water commission, like on.
Everybody.
We have to, the state passed law that we had to pass this. There is a reporting form if somebody suspects a ethics violation, whether internally or externally, we can be reported. But the long and short of it is there's training, which is a video you need to watch. There's a quiz at the end, and then you get to acknowledge by passing that you have you can't get to the acknowledgement page without passing the quiz. The board has graciously anointed me as the contact for the town for the ethics commission, and I am the one that receives any ethics complaints in town. So this training needs to be done by everybody. There's a little time to do it, but I did find out from them that we can do it as a group if we wanted to. So the board discussed, like, you all could come in and we could all do it at the same time. We all agree on the answers to the quiz, and then we can fill in the form for each person and print it out. But I have to keep track of each person, whether they've done it or not. So we have time. We people that are existing, we have some time to do it. So, but it's something that you could do on your own. Just search Vermont municipal ethics, and you will certainly find the information on it. There's a video you can watch, and then you get to the end of that, you take the quiz, get your email, forward me the email with the certificate, and we're good to go.
Sounds kind of fun to do it together.
It's not bad.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
I would prefer to do it that way.
So we need a meeting night to do it or whatnot, but
Yeah.
we probably spend about an hour doing it by the time we got all done with it. So.
Wow, wow. Yeah, Norm.
Well, I was just wondering, could we do it at a regular meeting, or we have to do it at a training session? And would that be a public meeting?
Well,
Public can do the training. There's no prohibition on public doing the training. I mean, it's just going through it, but yeah, everybody needs to get through it.
we could do it quite easily and
do it on
during
your
one of our
own.
regular meetings.
We could do it as part of a regular meeting if you'd like, or everybody could do it on their own. Either is fine.
Right, right.
We talked about, like, department heads bringing everybody in, like all the fire chiefs, the police chief, Dave, bringing everybody in and getting them to do it all. But it's kind of up to how they want to do it. So it just take about an hour if we all do it together. By the time we get done talking about it.
Yeah. It would take probably a little bit longer to coordinate the answers, some things.
Or I can send out everybody the meeting link, and like Mary took it, and because when you take it, you put in your email address. It said, do you want to send this do you also want to send this to someone? And you can just put in my email address and send me a copy of the certificate, and we're good to go. So
Well, what's the sense in the group? Spend some meeting time doing it or doing it on our own?
given my schedule right now, it would probably be more effective to do it while we're meeting.
Dana, I couldn't hear that.
I just said, Norman, that given my schedule right now, it would probably be more effective and timely to do it during a scheduled meeting.
I
Let's do it on
think
the
we get a
6th.
lot. I think we get a
Yeah.
lot more out of it if we did it together.
Let's do it the 6th after the,
Okay, so
hearing.
March 6th.
okay. Bill, tell us about the new public safety building. The departments are moving in.
Oh, it's fantastic. Oh my gosh. It's a whole new world. Yeah, we're all moved in.
The both police and
Yeah,
fire.
we're all moved in, yeah. Yeah. It's great. So we will do an open house, but it'll be when it's warmer, so we can go really open the building up, but yeah, like, it's good. Yeah. Just, it's really such an amazing difference between this one to the last one, so it's yeah. So we're very happy.
Probably some changes even for the one down the road.
Well, some stuff moved out of there. I mean, they've had all the stuff we couldn't find a place to put, everything got put down there, including a truck, for the last 18 months. So they're breathing a little easier. The highway garage, Dave says that Echo's in there now, and I'm like, we can bring it back if you want to. He says, nope, we're good, we're fine. So
Yeah, they've had to put all of their plow trucks outside all winter.
yeah,
right?
yeah. So now they're all inside. They're very happy, and yeah.
Can, can we just stop by and walk in, or is it all locked up?
The vestibule to the police department is the only public accessible door. So if we're there, you can certainly come in, but but that gets you to a very small space. That's about as far as you can go. So, but Lynn's there most of the time. You know, she works most days, so she's really, if she's not there, the door is locked. So. But it's an amazing building. It really is. I mean, been wandering through it for a while over the progress of it. And it's to be in there is.
Is it gonna be a public dedication?
The board hasn't really gotten to that point yet. Like, you know, we're still wrapping up some things with it. Like, there's still some things that's got to be finished. So it's not really ready for that yet. But we're going to be something when it's warmer, either late spring or summer, that we'll have an open house and let everybody come take a look.
Excellent.
Yep.
Okay. Guess we'll go down to the minutes from January 23rd. Got those. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
I had some suggestions, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted, Jerry, in paragraph 7 under old business, did you move to, because they asked for confirmation in paragraph 4. Would it be appropriate to say to Mr. Stern's move to approve confirmation that tract 1 and tract 4 are independent? Would that be consistent? Because that's what they asked for.
If that's what I wrote, that's what he said. The motions are
Okay.
pretty specific.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it just seemed. I don't think it's a big deal. Under new business, it says boundary line adjustment. That ought to be a capital A, I think. Under new business, paragraph 4. The sentence wasn't clear to me. No new building lots will be created and will have no impacts on rights of way. What will have no impacts on rights of way? It just wasn't clear.
Well, there are no new building lots and therefore there will be no additional impact on rights of way. That's the way I read it. Is that not true?
Well,
Just say, and there will be,
and there will be no impacts on, yes,
then there will be no impacts on right of way.
that seems, yeah, that seems better.
Okay.
And in number 5, it just unclear. Mr. Levens explained there is less total land overall. It doesn't, there's no reference.
After the land adjustment, which would add land, it would be 13.4 acres, Mr.
I think it'd be
Levens.
less acreage.
There's less total acreage overall.
Hmm.
Yes, I think that's correct to say it that way.
Just put it in.
And I just had one more.
So I understand completely what you're saying, but that's not what he said. He said there's less land overall. He didn't say there's less acreage. He said there's less land. So that's why I put land and not acreage. But I understand
says
that
less-
it's contextually
says
not
less-
accurate.
No, I understand. It says, explain there is less total, and I don't see the word land in there.
Okay, so instead of putting acreage, make it land.
I'm sorry?
The way I phrased it is how it was put in the meeting. So I know you want, you'd like to make things sound better, but sometimes it's how it was said. And if you change the context of the minutes, it changes the meaning of what was said, so we can't go back and do that.
Well, I don't think it does that, Bill. I understand where you're coming from, and I know we've disagreed on some of this in the past, and I understand. But here it just, if you want to put a parenthesis, less total parenthesis, land close parenthesis overall, I have no objection with that, but less total doesn't mean anything. And
Unless, Norman, from a linguistic standpoint, less total is a noun referencing land, and therefore, total is replacing land. Therefore, land is mentioned again in the following sentence.
Right.
So although it may not be completely clear, if you take total as the noun referencing land, then it can make sense.
And I definitely have a problem with changing anything that was said.
Mhm.
Even if he said it that way and it didn't come out clearly, it's what he said.
Mhm.
And if Bill did that I'm not comfortable with changing because it sounds better. I'm sorry. I know Norm, you put a lot of effort into this, but I'm just not comfortable doing that.
I understand.
Actually,
I'm not gonna be offended if it's not done.
after the addition.
And, you
Well,
know,
Norman, I mean, although awkward, I think that it's clear that
I think it
by
is.
the context, after the land adjustment, the land adjustment is the focus, which would add land, once again, talking about land, it would be 13.4 acres, the land. Mr. Levins explained there is less total overall. You can assume that land is understood after the addition of land due to several factors. So the fact that land doesn't appear there and does appear 3 times surrounding it, I think would allow a reasonable person to assume the total is referring to land.
Because of the questions around this, I was particularly careful in how I recorded what was done.
Right.
Not to keep muddying the waters, but this is simpler though, and it's real simple. A comma after less total overall, comma, after the addition of land, comma, due to several factors.
Sure.
And I think that would make it,
There you go.
Without changing what it said.
Right. You
Right.
just separate it off
Yep.
after
Yes,
the
that
addition
helps.
of land.
That
That's
helps.
the parenthetical option that Norman wanted to do, but you do it with commas. That's great. Wonderful, Andy. Thanks.
okay.
Anything else, Norm?
Nothing I wish to expose myself to more no, it's fine. I had a couple of
Right, but,
small things, but let's let it go.
Okay, Howard?
On page 2, number 6 up on top, Mark Crisell, isn't it?
Yep.
Mark, M-A-R-C, Mark Crisell. How's
Um,
Mark spelled?
I don't know. I thought it was a C. Might be a
I
K.
thought I remembered a C too.
You're probably right, but I got to wondering when I saw it, I thought, wonder if this is K or I just
Yeah.
was questioning it myself, but no big deal. It's what it
Okay,
is.
yeah,
It's fine the way it is, but,
It's a K.
Oh,
Okay, so we want to make sure that his name is spelled correctly, so we'll make it a K. There we go.
so who made the motion again?
I did, and so I will amend my motion to say approve the minutes with changes.
And I'll second it again.
All clear in the changes, Bill?
Okey doke.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
I'll abstain.
Okay, so, we meet again on the 6th. We'll do the Levens boundary line adjustment. Hopefully all of our questions will be answered then. And we'll do the ethics training. So if everyone can be here, so we can do that as a group all at once. And, I'll come up with some, river corridor language for everyone.
Barbara,
Okay.
one suggestion, we've got a couple people missing tonight, and you might reach out to them or have Bill reach out to them and explain it's important if everybody can be here for the ethics training on the 6th, so they'll be aware of what it is. I know they'll get the minutes a couple days in advance, but and the agenda, but maybe a brief contact to make sure everybody is here would be helpful.
I can do that, Bill. Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Motion
Also
to
moved.
adjourn.
Okay, moved in second.
Second.
I got it.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.
This is the map you have for
Oh, and